Welcome to your Barbados Today evening news update for Thursday, October 1st. The country records a dramatic rise in unemployment as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, with the National Insurance Scheme paying out just over $114 million in benefits. That translates to just over 31,600 unemployment claims up to September 25th. Senior Economic Advisor to the government, Dr. Kevin Greenidge, made the disclosure as he addressed the Rotary Club of Barbados lunchtime session at the Hilton Barbados today.
For this year alone, so year to date, to this year, NS has 72,871 claims, compared to every year average of less than 1,000. Every year, average claims to NAS is less than 1,000. This year, we are 72,800 and somebody as at September 25th. The year ain't done yet. Now that a claim don't translate to a body because people can put in extensions of more than one. In terms of persons, it's about 31,635 individual claims. NS has paid out $114 million in claims already for a year. You see the link, unemployment, tourism devastated that the people have claim, and that's the sort of problems that we have to be we are battling with.
Dr. Greenidge said when the pandemic started to affect Barbados in March, the forecast was that about 80% of the tourism sector would be wiped out and the economy would witness a double-digit decline of about 15% by the end of this year. He warned that to date, this analysis has not changed.
In fact, the second chart, you can't see it, not yet, shows that on average we used to get every month 50, 60,000 tourists here, 70,000. The most we have for this year since COVID was 6,000 in August. In July, we had 1,500. In June, we have 500. In May, 353. And end of March, 100. Those are tourism numbers compared to 70,000 and 80,000. So there's no question that COVID has licked up our tourism sector. And that's, we depend 40% of economic activity on average depend on tourism, and probably same amount in terms of 25 to 30% of our employment. So you could tell that has licked up us tremendously.
Barbados records 3 new COVID-19 cases, 2 of them as a result of contact tracing related to a 24-year-old woman who arrived here on a Virgin Atlantic flight on September 19th and who tested positive after a second test on September 24th. The two are a 62-year-old Barbadian woman and a 25-year-old Barbadian man. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says aggressive contact tracing is on the way to identify anyone else who may have come into contact with these cases. The third case is a 22-year-old Jamaican woman who arrived on a Caribbean Airlines flight from Jamaica. Confirmed cases in Barbados now stand at 193, and 7 people are in isolation at Harrison Point, St. Lucie. 179 people have recovered. President of the Democratic Labour Party, Villa de Pisa, believes that the upcoming by-election for the St. George North seat will be a straight fight between her party's candidate and that of the ruling Barbados Labour Party. She made the prediction after her party named former West Indies and Barbados cricketer Floyd Reefer as its candidate for the constituency. In an interview with Barbados Today, de Pisa said while the other political parties were expected to field candidates, she believed it would essentially come down to between Reefer and BLP candidate Senator Tony Moore.
Yes, we use by-election to test public opinion on a sitting government, but at the end of the day, the only persons who get the vote are those in this particular constituency. So St. George North can expect full ventilation of their issues. There, of course, will be some questions to be answered because a lot of the national issues with such a concern them as well. We expect a grand thing in St. George North. In relation to the smaller parties, it is difficult to say what impact they will have. George North. They, I believe, have the only repeat candidate in Solution Barbados. So we'll see how that turns out, but I expect that it will still be, for the most part, to horse race.
Meantime, political scientist Peter Wickham tells Barbados Today the DLP has chosen well given the timeline. He explains that a new candidate would have to introduce themselves to constituents, and Rifa does not have that challenge.
Because he has name recognition and he also is known to be a hometown boy that has done reasonably well. So from that perspective, the DLP has done well with a short election campaign to choose a person that is a known quantity. The other thing I like about him is the fact that as a candidate, he is fresh and new. He is not part of the old 2018 conversation, and he can also sell that as an advantage about himself. The difficulty, however, is that Rifa is what is good about him is also what is bad about him, in that he is a known quantity. He's known as a cricketer. I mean, and there have been cricketers in the past who have done well. Certainly, Wes Hall would have been considered one of the cricketers who came into politics as such and did well at the level of national management. At the same time, however, it's a conversation that Rifa now has to be able to have with the population. If he, somebody who plays cricket well, who can also manage a government, or alternatively is his limitation that as a cricketer, that's going to be part of his challenge going forward, because it's his advantage, but it will also be a weakness unless he's able to present a narrative and a conversation during the course of this short campaign that says, I am more than just a cricket coach, I'm more than just a cricketer, I can be part of the national management of Barbados going forward.
However, Wickham says Rifa has some work to do.
The mountain that Rifa has to climb is no different. And I would make the point that we have to remember that climbing a mountain of 80% of the support in our constituency is not easy. It's an awesome undertaking, and it's something that he has to do. So I don't believe that the name has made life any easier, certainly, and I don't believe that he's any more likely to win. At the same time, the Democratic Labour Party's conversation now is not necessarily about winning. The DLP's conversation is about reducing the size of the mountain in this campaign to see whether or not they can send a signal to the people of Barbados that the party is ready, that the party is, people are frustrated with the Barbados Labour Party. It's been classed as a referendum on the performance of the DLP midterm. And I think that certainly for the Democratic Labour Party, it's not necessarily about winning only. It really is about whether or not you can reduce the size of the mountain to the point where you can say that people have sent a signal to the Barbados Labour Party about its governance going forward. That to me is really what it is.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from our regional neighbors now, officials at Jamaica's Southern Regional Health Authority are looking to step up their response and preventative measures in the face of rising COVID-19 cases. We get more from Television Jamaica.
Now, based on figures since March, the three parishes have recorded combined figures of over 800 COVID cases.
When we look at Manchester, we're seeing the cases scattered all over the parish with a high concentration within the central area around the Mandeville and around that area, but no area is spared in terms of the distribution. And also with St. Elizabeth, which is in the yellow, we can see the distribution all over the parish and as well as Clarendon. So with the community spread, we're seeing the movement in terms of expansion of cases all over the parishes.
The region also recorded 9 deaths since the virus entered our shores.
For Manchester, we have 9 cases. And when we look at the cases in terms of the age distribution, we see that the deaths are occurring mainly within have a higher percentage within the elderly. So, for example, the case fatality within, say, under 10 years old would be 0.4. But if we look at the 90 and over, what we're seeing, 24.1% of those cases lead to death. So what we're seeing is that within the elderly, the fatality rate is much higher than the other population.
And finally, the Spanish government has ordered a partial lockdown in the capital Madrid and surrounding areas badly affected by COVID-19. More in this report from Reuters TV.
Europe's second wave of COVID-19 is now forcing one of its worst-hit countries, Spain, to put its capital back into lockdown. Madrid is the continent's most severe coronavirus hotspot. The city of over 3 million people is set to go into lockdown in the coming days after the region's leader reluctantly agreed Thursday to obey a central government order to ban non-essential travel there. Madrid has found itself caught in a fight between its national and local government. It has at least 859 cases per 100,000 people, according to the World Health Organization. Much of the continent is facing similar challenges. Local lockdowns across the UK, for example, have been put in place.
I can assure you,
England alone has seen a 61% increase in positive cases in its latest weekly data. That's more than 4 times the number of cases recorded compared with the end of August. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has implored Brits to follow new, tighter rules. But there has been some confusion over the restrictions and frustration over a new test and trace system which has fallen short of its targets once again. In Italy, also one of the worst-hit countries, Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte plans to ask Parliament to extend the country's COVID-19 state of emergency to the end of January. And France's new coronavirus cases increased by more than 10,000 for the first time in 3 days on Wednesday, while the number of people hospitalised with the disease rose by almost 100 to a 10-week high.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.